Creighton Valley. I urge all community residents to show appreciation for the contributions of the rural health professionals and community volunteers whose abilities and efforts enhance the quality of life in rural Alberta. Dated today, May 31st, 2023. Very important proclamation today. It's very exciting to be celebrating all the amazing healthcare workers and givers in our community. So thank you very much for your contributions, everything that you do. I know that this is an industry that we definitely need to be advocating for and encouraging growth and education and retention and everything else there. So we'll be working hard and continuing to work hard to definitely help this industry in every way that we can. We have no public hearings this morning, no delegations, so we'll jump right into our decision items. Our first decision item is 9.1, which is the appointment of financial institution. Good morning, Leah.
Good morning. So this is for the appointment of our financial institution, which is RBC. Back in March, we put out an RFP for banking services, and following the process, RBC was found to have submitted the strongest bid. So this is our recommendation to award the contract for services for the next 5 years to RBC.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions this morning? Councillor McGee.
Question that arises is how much do we deal locally? Because things have changed so dramatically in the banking business that even I think personally, I don't really know anybody at the Royal Bank right now. But so how much do we actually do here locally?
So we do a nightly deposit at the physical branch every day, pretty much, sometimes 2 times a day, depending if we do a deposit for the town and for Aspen Waste. And then the one manager that we deal with is out of this branch as well. And there is many occasions that we've had to go there physically for something as well.
Yeah, so the people we deal with, aside from perhaps a few people that are higher up in the banking world, they are local. So our manager, our main manager is Margaret Severin, and she's been in the area with banking with small businesses for quite a few years now. So we had a meeting with a whole group of them right before we issued the RFP, and there was a few that came from the city for sure, but our manager is from town, and she's specifically works out of this branch in the town. And then all our, deposits and all that kind of stuff is all done by workers, local workers here in the branch as well. So, some of the customer service for online banking, because of we are a large organization, so our RBC Express, and if we need help with that kind of stuff, that's definitely people not from this branch. Those are people that we call that work out of head offices or even call centers, but our manager that works with us is local.
So you have a good relationship with them.
Yes, that was an important factor in this. Is good customer service. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Clark.
So the contract for 5 years, does that lock in all nothing?
We do.
So what does that get us?
Yeah. No, we do a 2-year contract typically, and our rates our interest rates are based on prime.
Okay.
So they increase and decrease with prime. So which is good. We don't want to lock in even for a year. Usually in terms of those prices, but our service fees and that kind of stuff, we negotiate for a 2-year term, which is going to be May 31st. Is it tomorrow? Or June 1st, and then 2 years.
Okay, so I guess I'm just reading here. It's administration's recommendation that RBC be awarded the contract services for the next 5 years. So
yeah, that's just our practice of tendering. So an organization per the MGA, a municipality has to go on the market every 5 years for banking services. That's why it's 5 years. So it's not actually a 5-year contract. Sorry, that was not clear.
Oh, so this is something we typically do every 5 years?
Yeah, well, You're supposed to, yeah.
You're-
I couldn't find when the last time was that we did it
Yeah.
here at the town, but I do know, and we spoke to multiple other municipalities, and changing banking services can be a lot of work, and so I think it's something that sometimes just doesn't end up happening. But that the MGA does guide us to go to the market every 5 years, so.
So have we changed? who
No,
our-
we didn't
oh,
change.
Didn't
No,
change,
we
okay.
didn't change.
Okay.
Yeah, we had RBC before and we're continuing with RBC because they did have the best bid, best
Okay.
services for an organization of our size and the best rates, so.
Any other questions for administration? Not, I'm needing a member of council to make a motion. Councillor Evans, thank you.
I'll make the motion that council approve retaining the services of the Royal Bank of Canada for the town of Drayton Valley for the next 5 years.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, or debate on the motion? Then I'll ask all in favor. That is carried. Moving along, 9.2, tax forgiveness for fire loss properties.
So this agenda item is for the 2 properties within town boundaries that suffered losses to their residential homes due to the wildfire. So we're recommending, just due to the timing of everything, assessments are based on December 31, 2022's condition date. So they wouldn't see any changes in their assessment until next year. So we're just recommending that the municipal tax portion on the improvement for each of those properties would be tax forgiveness.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions for administration? So both of these are like houses, right, where somebody is living? And then we took into consideration other structures and things like that. And then I guess out of that discussion came just that we wanted to deal specifically with homes. There was 4 or 5 homes that were lost. Are they outside of the
Right.
town? Is that why?
So I believe there might have been a 3rd home in the county. The last update I got, there was 4 homes, residential properties, 2 in the county, 2 in the
Oh.
town. So the other 2 are in the county boundaries. And then, yeah, all the rest of the damages were either cabins or shops or the sheds and stuff like that. So as of this time, council directed just to bring forward the 2 residential properties, which is what we have in front of you today.
Thank you very much. And have we reached out to the residences and are we assisting them in any way that we can with help that they need with
We haven't,
insurance and kind of sending them in the right direction?
well, we've been in contact with them in terms of walking them through their properties and that. We haven't reached out to them regarding taxes or anything further, but we will be sending these notices out later today. All the other notices have went out this morning. Like we've dropped them off at the mailbox. We held these 2 back so we could adjust them once this motion comes forward. And then we'll reach out as well and see what else, if there's any assistance needed. I know one of these 2, they already started their process with insurance and they're well on their way. But the other one, I will reach out to again and just see where they're at with that process.
Perfect. Any other questions? Is there a member of council that'd like to make a motion? Councillor McGee?
Make the motion, Madam Mayor, that council approve tax forgiveness on rolls 1000350 for 707.04 and 1000295 for 331.16 for a total of $1,038.20.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, or debate on the motion? I'll just add that I'm in favor of the forgiveness. I think that it's just a little bit of something that we can do to assist the families going through these hard times during, being displaced from our home and just the disaster and everything else that's happened. I think it's a small, significant amount that hopefully will help them. And they've got a lot of work ahead of them and a lot of readjusting of their lives for sure. So I think every little bit will help. So there is a motion on the table and I'll ask all in favor. That is carried. Thank you, Leah. Moving on now to 9.3, residential garbage bin replacement. Good morning, Abed.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, members of the council. This residential garbage bin replacement was discussed in our sustainability committee. And it was recommended that I should bring it to the whole council. So the issue is that when Integrity Waste Solution, they took over the contract in January and in December. They took over all the bins, and since then, approximately 10 bins have been lost or stolen, and they are saying that they will be back charging us. And it is the recommendation of the administration that we should be charging back to public because it is their responsibility to take care of their bins. And as far as the regular use is concerned, they will not be charged for that. It's only for the stolen and lost bins. The cost for one bin is about $90. And it's apparently it is not so much, but they are saying that if it continues to happen, then ultimately it will cost about $2,200 if it happens at this rate, and which is not a budgeted amount. So it's up to the council to decide.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Councillor Evans?
What did we do in a previous contract, or has this just become a problem as of late? Seems like a lot of bins are going missing.
I'm not sure about the previous company was 360, I think. But when Integrity took over, they are complaining about this, that we have to continuously replace these.
Councillor McGee?
My understanding is that they just never charged us for it. So the same amount of bins might be lost, but they never charged us for it. So they accepted that as a loss. Where I got that, I don't know, A&W or something. But having said that, I'm thinking to myself is that when I go by the landfill and there's 5 or 6 bins in the bush there. So recovery makes sense to me. And so when you bring a bin in, I'm thinking if we just said, okay, bins are, you could, here's $25 reward for bringing a bin back. Like, there's all kinds of interesting things you could do, but I'm suspecting the bins are close by. So we should try to think that through too, rather than just cutting a check somewhere. And I think I just think we should be
It's a good
thinking
idea.
about this particular thing a little bit more than just, although I understand our new supplier is saying we're not paying. Yeah, and I get that, right? But I think it's, there's some wisdom in somehow looking around. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. There's no question there.
No question. Just a comment. Any other questions? Is there a member of council that would like to make a motion? Councillor Ballas?
I want to make a statement. No, I don't agree that we should be charging $90 to the residents. I know you're saying they should be responsible, but those bins are left out there sometimes for 12 hours with nobody at home. It doesn't make sense to me that we should be saying that they're not responsible. I think they are responsible citizens, but I don't believe we should penalize them for other people's actions.
Tom?
If I could join in that conversation, I wrote down in my notes, is there a certain area? Because all the bins are in the back alley, so there's nobody looking after them. There it is there. So I need a bin, I'm gonna get a bin. So I'm a little bit like Bill. I said, now you're gonna ding me some, I can see some political backlash. And other than that, I'm now going to lock my bin up somewhere, and where I normally leave it in the alley. It's not as simple as just doing it. There's something more to it. So I'm with Bill on this, is that I think we need to do a little bit more research on how we should handle this.
So what typically happens when, like bins are broken? The truck picks it up, drops it down, the wheel falls off, or, just wear and tear and things like that? How does that typically work?
So they call our office and we contact Integrity. And if it is a broken wheel because of their trucks
Yeah.
and operators, so they will replace it. They replace that and they have, I think,
With no charge?
no charge. This is only for these stolen ones and lost ones.
This would only be, for the stolen ones, not the damaged ones.
Yeah.
Well, who knew this would be an issue, right? Yeah. So I've heard a few comments, so maybe we want to have a motion. Are you looking at maybe doing that, or do you have an additional comment, Rick? Comment? Sure.
Additional comment and maybe a proposal. I'd support us replacing these things as opposed to charging the resident, but I think we could maybe limit it to one a year. If we have a resident that sees them walking away a couple, 3 times a year, I think there's an issue there that they should be paying attention to. But the odd one that goes missing, throwing that cost at the resident, I think maybe we could take that cost on myself. So I would be making the alternative motion. If you'd like me to do
You
that
go
right
right
now.
ahead if you'd
Okay.
like to, yeah.
I'll make the motion that, that council approves paying for the stolen and missing bins up to 1 per year per resident to Integrity from the operational budget. Does that make sense?
Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. Okay, well, thank you very much for that. There's a motion on the table. Any comment, question, or debate on the motion? Sure, Colin.
So rather than per resident, just per household. I think would make sense, right? Because there could be 5 residents in a house, just.
I'll reluctantly agree to that friendly amendment.
We don't want to be giving out 5 bins a year, Rick. Okay, Pam, did you get that friendly amendment? Okay, perfect. There is a friendly amendment on the table to change from residents per household now. Any comment, question, or debate on that friendly amendment? Then I'll ask all in favor. That is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're just moving through this. So 9.4, Drayton Valley Municipal Library Board appointments. Good morning, Hans.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. So this item is in front of you to solidify the appointment of the board to make sure that the library board has their people in place again. So a little while ago, when the change happened, that Councillor Brooks was appointed to the board as a temporary replacement. This is solidifying the replacement again for the rest of the term of Councillor Brooks by Councillor Gunderson. So Councillor Gunderson is put forward by the Council of Brazeau County, which is of course their prerogative to do so, but it has to be solidified by the appointment by this council because the library board requires that in their statutes to be done by this board and by this council through a motion. So the library board themselves, of course, support the replacement of Councillor Cody Brooks with Councillor Glenn Gunderson, delegated by Council of Brazeau County to represent their municipality. This is in front of you, and I can now take any questions, of course, from you as council.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions this morning? No questions? Is there a member of council who'd like to accept this and make a motion?
I'd make a motion, Madam Mayor, the council replace Cody Brooks with Glenn Gunderson as Brazeau County's elected member to the Town of Drayton Valley Library Board for the remainder of a 1-year term expiring October 31st, 2023.
Thank you very much for that. Comment, question, or debate on the motion? Just a question. So October 31st, is that their organizational meeting time?
Thank you for that question. It's our organizational meeting time. So that's basically to the end of the term, and it's our organizational meeting when annually we appoint again the two council members from Brasile County and this county.
Oh, we
Council.
do at the same time from
Yeah.
Brazeau County? Oh, okay. Because I know that they do, there's a little, their organizational is different and they do a 2-year rotation. I guess that's why I was asking. But we'll do the appointing then.
Annually in our organizational meeting.
Okay, perfect. Okay, there is a motion on the table. If there's no other further discussion, then I'll ask all in favor. That is carried. So we have 9.5 discretionary use at 6204 58th Avenue, Lot 1, Block 15, Plan 1323539 for development permit application DV 23-018. Good morning, Mr. Vanna.
Morning, Madam Mayor, members of council. This item is before council as council acts as the development authority for discretionary uses. The property is located at the corner of 62nd Street and 58th Avenue. The development permit application is for 3 additional tanks to a previously approved chemical storage facility that's located on the property currently. As per the town's policies and procedures, we notified the landowners within 60 meters of the parcel to make them aware of the proposed development, as well as put a notice in on our website as well. The subject property is located in a light industrial district, according to our land use bylaw. And the proposed use is classified as a medium industrial use, which is a discretionary use under that particular land use district. This proposed development conforms to our municipal development plan in the commercial and light industrial future growth area that's identified in the MDP. Under the land use bylaw, as mentioned, in the light industrial district, chemical storage facilities is defined within the medium industrial uses, which makes it discretionary. And as mentioned, 3 previous chemical storage tanks were approved by council on the property a couple of years ago. So these new tanks will be 60 cubes or square meters or cube meters in size. And the conditions that are being proposed for the development permit, there are 15 in total, and they're very similar to the ones that were approved several years ago. Namely being that the subject property owner provide a site plan identifying as or attached to the development permit, that they provide detailed engineering drawings of the storage tanks and the containment berm, that the capacity of emergency response plan be reviewed by our fire department and emergency services, verification that the emergency equipment on site is operational, that the applicant be responsible for cleaning up and remediating the site once they're finished, that the approval is for 3 60 cube chemical storage tanks containing solvent methanol, and that if there's going to be any other product in there, that they make the county and the town aware of that. That they follow the provincial and federal and municipal approvals, that they don't construct anything on right-of-ways and easements, that a emergency response plan, occupational health and safety documentation be approved by the fire chief, that the contractor not impede, obstruct, or change any existing drainage outside of the subject property, that they locate all the underground utilities before they start any construction on the site. They advise of any damage to municipal structures prior to any construction, that they're financially responsible for any damage, that they may cause as a result of their own negligence as part of this construction. That they ensure all the requirements of utility companies are met. And finally, that they not prevent any excess soil debris from spilling onto public streets and rights of way. So those are the conditions, Madam Mayor, and the recommendation of administration is that council approve development permit DV 2318, subject to the conditions in the report. And alternatively, that council approves with revised conditions or council refuses with reasons. So our recommendation is to approve it with the conditions identified.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions for Peter this morning? Councillor Ballas?
I guess one question I would have is I see our fire chief is here, if there was any concern from the fire services? None.
No concerns. I think there was just a recommendation of fire safety inspection, and that was conducted as part of the conditions. Councillor McGee?
Madam Mayor, I would make a motion the council approve development permit DV 23-018, subject to the conditions of approval contained in the report to council.
Thank you very much for that. I think this is a pretty straightforward development permit application today. Is there any comment, question, or debate on the motion? None, then I will ask all in favor. That is carried. Thank you very much. So we do have an 11 o'clock going into close, so we'll jump over that and we'll jump into our department reports. This is just a really quick agenda this morning. So we'll start with our Municipal Services Department Report 10.1. This is a bid this morning. Welcome again.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So after 2 weeks of evacuation, we are back to work and working. Everybody is very busy working on their day-to-day job. Parks, for example, is they are busy with the mowing in high traffic areas such as Ball Diamonds, Rotary Park facilities, and Ivantoe Park. And now the flowers are being planted in the flower pots along the high traffic areas. This new set of seasonals have started on May 23rd, and so everybody's working. And the picnic tables that were ordered, they will be installed with the help of Public Works. Public Works is busy with the sweeping of the roads. They are busy with the priority 2 and 3 roads, taking down. They were busy in the past taking down the staging area, which was set up for emergency. And they are creating back alleys and graveling the roads and the gravel roads, and they are getting roads prepared for the dust control. Doing locates, some folks are doing locates on a daily basis as private residents. They call for the locates, utility locates. Mowing with the big tractors have also started along the highways and almost finished, but still going on in large areas. They are also busy with the cemeteries, mowing and getting all the cremations and burials which are ongoing. They were also busy in the past for delivering the Red Cross items to the Civic Center, to the town, which are going to the town residents. Crack sealing is about to start on or before June 15. It is expected, and line painting will start after that, right after following their route. Utilities, all our utility operators and team, they were working diligently during the fire evacuation. And they worked very hard in keeping the town water safe. They were working with Alberta Environment to make sure that the testing is done properly. There's a whole lot of bullets here for you to have a look. I will just summarize it that they have been doing a great job. And that there were no issues from the Alberta Environment during this time, and our systems are running as intended. Distribution upgrade RFP was issued, and it is going to be closed on June 16th. Rather than going and sole sourcing to the same consultant, we have issued an RFP to see what is out there, who is out there, to get some value for money, and the additional meeting with the Alberta Environment is scheduled for today, and I hope everything goes okay. With regards to wastewater treatment and collection, regular operation is going on. Acute lethality tests were failed in the past couple of times, but as of yesterday, our test passed. And if we continue to pass for 2 years, the accelerated testing will not be required. So there was a sewer main break near the Scotia Bank, which was also completed during this time. And septic receiving station rehabilitation work is going to start soon. Lagoon will be septic receiving lagoon will be drained, and then the work will start. So there will be interruption for the companies to discharge their waste in here for a couple of weeks. The two top wastewater treatment technology vendors are scheduled to give us a presentation next week, and then we'll go from there. Landfill operations is going ongoing. Landfill was very busy during this free tipping days. There were no issues, and we have been sourcing cover, but GFL, as they promised, they have yet to come back to us. They are still working behind the scene. So in a nutshell, everything is going okay. And 56th Avenue, that project is ongoing. It is going to be completed this week. With the exception of dust control, we are tying up dust control with the county. So we have to do some roads and plus 56th Avenue. So that will also be done shortly. And the sidewalk contract was issued and signed. 50th Avenue project. It is closing. The tender is closing tomorrow. I had a meeting with the Church of God. They have given the comments. That comments were communicated to the consultant. Consultant is okay, and they are going to amend as per their desire. We still have to meet with the St. Anthony's Church, and so it's not urgent because this work is to be done next year. But ideally, we would like to get it done so that once this meeting done with St. Anthony, so that we can comment, we can incorporate their comment into the drawings, which we will be issuing shortly for construction. So with that, my presentation is done. If there are any questions.
Thank you very much. I'm going to start with Monica online. She does have a question for you. Monica, do you want to go ahead?
Hi, good morning, everyone. A bit,
Morning.
there was a concern brought up on one of the Facebook pages about bike racks. Is there a possibility that we could maybe purchase and place some bike racks in parks maybe or downtown core?
Additional bike racks. There was residents having concern over additional bike racks in the community, that there isn't a sufficient amount.
Okay. We'll look into that.
Okay,
Are there any specific locations?
were there any specific locations, Monica?
No, but I ride my bike quite often, as I'm sure Councillor McGee does too. And I have actually noticed that there isn't very many places to put your bike and lock it up. So, I mean, downtown core, business areas, some of the parks possibly, so people can actually park their bike and lock it up and, go in the playground with the kids and feel safe about leaving their bikes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Councillor Ballas, did you have something? No, you're okay? Councillor Evans?
Just to confirm, we don't have a backup generator at the water plant? Like it says the fire pump engages, which is standard, but it doesn't generate any power. We don't have a backup generator?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, should we have one?
So sorry, so it is my understanding,
Reservoir 2, correct?
pardon me?
Just that Reservoir 2, right?
Just, yeah, Reservoir 2. This was Reservoir 2 they were talking about. Not the over there, sorry.
Okay, just can you clarify that? So what was your question again, Rick, about?
So we have a backup generator at the water plant
Water
itself?
plant, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
It is.
That's where
that's
your
good.
question was? Okay.
Yeah, but where we don't have it is in that south reservoir that we looked at.
Reservoir number 2 near a hospital.
Yeah.
Okay, and should we have one there?
It's not a bad idea if we're going to rely on it well, what's it going to have to do there? Open the vents to
That's
cool it down. What happens is your fire pump gets running in there and then it gets really hot in there, and with no power, it can't open up the vents and stuff that feed cold air through there. It seems kind of wonky that we don't have a little generator on that motor itself. So you may want to look at that. I know with very similar plants that I've worked in, they put a little generator on that fire pump motor that will generate enough power to just maybe a couple of little lights and open the vents so it'll stay cool in there. Otherwise, you got to kick the doors open and have somebody babysit it. Thanks. I'm glad.
Yeah, no.
We have one at the water
We have
plant.
a big one over there.
Thanks for that clarity. Any other questions? I do have a list. Okay, so number 1, how many summer students do we have?
Right now, we have 15,
We have
and there will
15?
be another 4 or 5 coming. Total 21, I think.
Okay, so total of 2021. And I do understand that we were vacant from the community for a couple weeks, so we're having to catch up. I know that we're starting to see like concerns come in from residents and stuff like that. When is our area going to be mowed? Things like that.
Yeah.
So I think that if we could maybe have a plan communicated to us of how that's happening, that would be fantastic. And as well, so I seen some of the summer students driving down 50th, like from the ring road, there was 3 mowers and they were driving up the road all the way, and none of that grass was cut there. So my question is rather than drive on the road, couldn't they each do a swath of cutting that all the way up rather than driving on the road? Just, they might not get to that whole area, but wouldn't it kind of get ahead? That's just how I think, or maybe there's a different plan, but I know that there was some other, comments that had came around about that in other areas, that they're seeing the lawnmowers driving on the road, but not cutting the lawn. So I don't know if this is something that is possible.
Yes, absolutely, because I have communicated with Nick, and I'll have a meeting right after this today.
Yeah.
And then I'll convey the concerns, and I'll make sure that nobody is sitting idle, everybody is working, nobody is chatting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm fine with breaks or, chatting and things like that. I just had the question that they were driving all the way from the ring road, all the way through town. And rather than driving on the road, couldn't they just drop the mowers and
Yeah.
each do a path? There was 3 of them. I mean, and just get that all the way done up for 250th. I don't know. That just seemed like efficient,
Yeah.
that it would be very efficient. That's just the way how I viewed it. And my other question is beautification. I know we put extra funds into the beautification of the town. Again, we're behind a little bit on everything. I guess, what is the plan, and when will we kind of start to see that unfold with the extra flowers? I know we talked about sponsorships, maybe getting additional pots and baskets, and then, putting that out to the community for sponsorships. So not sure if we're.
Yeah, so with regards to beautification, there are 3 or 4 components. One was this flower pots, the other one was benches, and then there was a big welcome to Drayton Valley sign, wayfinding sign. So we had a meeting with regard, picnic table are done, flower pots are being looked after. So it'll take a little time to catch up. So with regards to that big welcome to Drayton Valley sign, we had a company come in, they made a presentation, and they provided some options. We were thinking that we will get a presentation from them and come back to the council and see what your comments are. Putting the sign is a tricky place. I'm not sure on Highway 22 and then 50 and McDonald, where to put that sign where this is very visible. And but we will come back with some options and present it to council. There was another lighting thing on the 50th and 50th. I think Shelley is working on it, get some pricing, and we will also get back to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I had some questions too, in regards to our cemetery. Do we have a budget for the cemetery, and are there any plans like to add or include beautification there? It's just been some concerns and questions that have just come up over the last little while.
The cemetery has a maintenance budget,
Yeah.
but we didn't put extra money for additional beautification in this budget, just the standard maintenance. So,
Maybe during budget time if we want.
yeah, if you have additional things that council would like to see there, then we'd have to talk about it at budget time,
During
but,
budget, okay.
but we do have a maintenance budget, yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. And then also for wastewater treatment, on your comments here, it said acute lethality sampling was conducted and it failed at the lagoon there. So it said that the repairs were completed last year. It's become a challenge. I guess my question is when we were really seeing or smelling that smell last year, it was in the winter time and we were getting all the complaints coming in from the community. We had put additional funds in place to kind of mitigate that. And I thought that it was supposed to also help with us when it had to do with levels of bacteria and passing those tests. Does anybody else remember or I guess my question is, so why are we seeing that? Because I thought we put quite a bit of money into that.
So with regards to that smell and all those things, I think in the past, they have done some aeration upgrades in the lagoons, and that would have helped. That this aeration would have helped also with the growth of the bacteria. But what we are seeing here is these tests fail because of the lethality test is for the fish. And that fish dies, and that's why Alberta Environment and it is the requirement from the federal government that we should have ammonia and phosphorus removed from the system so that this fish doesn't die. So what Shelley is saying here in a report that because they did some repairs in the berm and they had to dewater, the bacteria growth couldn't bloom up to that limit that it starts eliminating ammonia, and that's why it is failing. So now recently another test has passed. I don't know what is going on with this passing and failing of these. And that's why we are going for this technology and finding out a vendor which they claim that this kind of treatment will be provided to eliminate ammonia and phosphorus and so that fish doesn't die. So we are working on it and we will see how it goes.
So just to be clear, the smell and the aeration we did last winter was just smell related, had nothing to do with the like this is an unrelated reason why these fish are dying. That I have confirmed that.
So it
We did
wasn't-
pass this last test
Yeah,
though.
that's
We did pass this last test. So I think 2 weeks of passing.
Yeah. So
And then we're back on our regular
We're back on
schedule. I do believe Shelley's online if you want to ask her further questions.
Sure. Good morning, Shelley. I think, yeah, my question, if you are online there, I just thought that when we put additional funds in, it was quite a bit of money that, and there was two different levels or two, does anyone else remember? There was two solutions that we came up with. And I thought that because we did that, this wouldn't happen going forward.
No, so
Did you wanna-
what the aeration did for cells 1 and 2 was to bring the dissolved oxygen levels up, which decreased the smell, which
Okay.
seems to be working well. It had nothing to do with bacteria growth.
Okay,
These two are anaerobic cells, so they're not generally needed to be aerated because there is no bacteria within them. The bacteria starts in the following cells. And what had happened was last year when we did our repair on between cell 4 and 5, when we got it back full again, it was quite late in the year. So we weren't able to get an established bacteria growth in there before the winter months hit. And during the winter months, what happens is bacteria growth slows down. They can't reproduce as quickly when the temperatures are low. So what happens is the bacteria we did have ended up washing out the back end and not reproducing at a quick enough rate to keep our acute lethality under control. So it's coming back now. We're starting to see our ammonia levels drop, which means we're starting to rebuild that bacteria, which should be what relief we need to get us back in normal sampling regime. And hopefully keep us good through the winter as well, following winter.
thank you for that, Shelley. Colin, did you have a question?
I think just prior to the evacuation, I think we had a chat about this, and I think at the time Alberta Environment was aware, and we were failing these. But they're also aware of the fact of the reason why, right? So we had an explanation and they were essentially okay with it. And the expectation was that we would keep monitoring it, right?
That's
Is that
Yeah,
correct?
we did get asked to look at additional ways to enhance our bacteria growth, which I have been working on. But since we passed the last one, I don't think the town is going to have to burden that cost because we are starting to see the growth of that bacteria come back and our levels to come down. So I'm just, I let Environment know and Environment Canada and Alberta Environment know yesterday of the pass and that we're going to hold off on any additional treatment enhancements until we see if we pass the next two.
And is this, I guess, normal that we keep failing these tests? Like, is this common practice in municipalities that this happens all the time? It just seems like since my time on council that it's happened frequently. So is this just normal?
It is normal with lagoon-based systems. We can't hold on to that bacteria long enough to reproduce. And because the reproduction slows, it ends up getting washed out in the back end and out to the river after disinfection. So it does pose a problem with a lot of lagoon-based systems throughout the province. So all of us are now required to upgrade. That's why we have to upgrade.
Okay, gotcha.
I think it was 2013, they started doing the acute lethality sampling is when they brought it into effect. And that was when this all kind of started arising that, okay, we need to do something different with treatment with these types of systems.
Okay, thank you for that. Did you have something to add, Rick? Go ahead.
So we're currently draining the cell that the receiving station is going to be installed at.
That's right.
So are we going to run into the same problem with that cell once we start refilling it? Because it'll be
No.
it'll be the first one, eh? So.
Yeah, no, we don't have any bacteria base in that cell. So we're not going to be draining cell 3, which is the one that's adjacent to it. It's not going to be impacted by any bacteria loss. So no, we'll be fine.
Okay. I guess the only thing that I would mention, Shelley, and is, if you do run into this again, one possible option, and maybe you've looked at this, would be to go to our neighboring municipality and try and maybe get a load of sewage that's loaded with bacteria to get you kind of kickstarted again. There may be something available at their plant in Cynthia, or even one of their lagoons. If it's working well, maybe an idea to look at. That's about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
That's a great idea.
Thank you for that. Councillor McGee, did you have a question?
I do. I'm just going to start and work down, right? So free tipping days were 17 and 24, those long weekends, and they worked out well. Is anybody asking, are we hearing from, that we needed to add another week because of that? So there's no pressure on another extra week for free tipping, or?
Councillor McGee, I'm not aware of anybody asking for extension,
Okay.
but landfill has been very busy. As per Sunny, they were saying that lots of people are coming and all.
Okay, and I was up Main Street today, and I told you this morning there were 4 of our summer students in one of those little areas for flowers, and I thought I could see that wasn't very productive. But so you were going to say, okay, Nick, if we're going to have 20 students, it's about coordination of their workloads and having them do and so that it's all about management, right? So we can figure that out. And I think at this point, they're helping Joan out, and once it gets going, then they can go on to some regular work. I think that's the sense right now.
Yes, that's right. So they are helping with mowing, they are helping with flowers. They are, as I mentioned in my report, they are
Yep.
busy, yeah.
Yeah, I get all that, right? So, but just the coordination. If you get 20 students, somebody's got to manage it. Otherwise, it's chaotic. And about, I think the word efficiency was mentioned as well.
That's right.
Today. The debris lands, we mulched all that debris lands. And I think the sense was we were going to go in and try to clean all that mulch a little bit.
That's right.
And haul it to the landfill as cover. That's just going to be scheduled work as well?
That's right. So they have been busy with other stuff.
Yep.
So as soon as they are a little bit free, they will take that away. So DB land, just we have gone for the tenders, and the tender is going for, not for the DB land, but for the trails upgrade. It is closing, I think, today. But without DB land. DB land was eliminated for this contract because there are certain issues.
Yeah, and I think that the seniors are walking now, but there's debris, and so even if you move the debris off those paths, it's just,
Will do.
somebody should just walk it and go, oh, I get it. The other thing about the cemetery, I was down there on the weekend, and I think we got on it on Monday. I think Monica mentioned it sounds like we mowed on Monday, which I think we were behind on that. That's fair.
Yeah.
But in the cemetery itself, it also has pockets where there's, you can drive in a bit of a circle, and so we've got plants that we planted and things like that. And sometimes they get neglected because we're just mowing. So you can't neglect those little pieces that are there that we should have a look at.
Sure.
Picnic tables, I know we've got a map out to where we're going to place the picnic tables.
Yes, that was approved.
We've seen that and approved. Had a citizen ask me about a picnic table to be placed, and I don't know if it's going to be placed in Secura Park, where there's a swing set behind the hospital. And there's some trees, some beautiful trees there. We could just set a picnic table if we have an extra one. I wouldn't go buy an extra one. I would just say if there's an extra picnic table, just plant it there at the hospital. Because people are coming out for lunch, and the hospital itself has some, but
We will look into that.
just look into that, yeah.
In hospital,
So it's kind of,
Somewhere.
I think they call it Secura Park, right? When you're going up
I think it
in
is.
the backside to the hospital, I think it's called Secura Park.
I think it is.
Like up the path towards the 43rd Ave?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Secura Park.
Yeah, just, it's a beautiful little park. It's not big, just, that would be great. The I have a specific question, and that is the monitoring the active cell, especially cell 4D, to make sure that the end of the day cover or grizzly plates are in place. What's a grizzly plate?
these are big plates to cover the garbage. So they
Oh,
are
on
this
the back.
size from here to here.
Okay. Okay, and they're just huge metal plates.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, we used to have the bears actually come into the landfill and do that work for us.
And the last piece is the communication with St. Anthony's, and we'll set up some sort of a meeting, and, because it seems like they've got a little agitated, so we can calm that down in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's okay. In couple
Yeah,
of-
I'm not worried about it at all.
yeah.
And the parish priest was on to me, and I thought, and it's very difficult for me to explain what we're trying to do, given a flat drawing, right? Here's the flat drawing. I look at it, and I think Rick's mentioned it this morning, is that I don't even know what we're doing. So it's difficult to explain it. I think, Madam Mayor, that's the end of my comments.
Thank you. I do have one more, when you did talk about the DeVilance and the cleaning up. Are we going to be starting, Fire Smart education pieces, like for residents to be cleaning up their yards, making their properties safer and getting rid of all that deadfall and things like that? Do we have that
Maybe.
plan? I'm looking at Tom. So I was just asking do we have a plan in place to start releasing little Fire Smart education pieces, like to clean up your yards, to make your property safer, getting rid of deadfall and debris and things like that?
Yeah, over the past several years, we have put that type of information out, but we can definitely reintroduce that and get it out to the public for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that would be helpful. I have had quite a few residents say that, even come to me as, oh, we're going to take trees down and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. So if we can kind of say, well, this is what you should and this is what you shouldn't, or this is what you don't need to do, that would be great.
Sure.
Just to kind of reshare that. And then while you're here, is there a fire ban still on? Maybe if you could just,
Yes.
full?
There's two reasons that we have a fire ban. Number one, the conditions. We have got some rain, but the fire hazard is still very high. When we put fire bans on, it's based on two things. First one is obviously weather, but the second one is also firefighter resources and availability to be able to put out fires. And because we are still dealing with the wildland fire, we don't have the resources that we need to be able to mitigate it. So those are the two factors why we still have a full fire ban on at this point in time.
okay, so you can still use your barbecue and those propane little fire tables and
Correct.
things like that?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I just didn't see you on the report, so I thought, well, I'll ask a couple. Okay, any other questions for a bid? You're always in the hot seat. Okay, well, thank you very much for
Thank-
your report, and we'll move to 10.2, Community and Recreation Services Department.
And good day again. So for the report of the Communications, Community and Service Recreation Department, just a couple of highlights in the report that you see in front of you already. So based on the activities, of course, we had over the last couple of weeks, some of the items have been postponed. So in the ECDC, you see, for example, that our Mother's Day event was missed, and on June 22nd, we'll do a celebration that basically highlights the families with the barbecue. The conversations that we started with the province are ongoing to see additional support, because we know, of course, that families are in hardship. And for instance, we have the good ends with the ministry, and we are continuing our conversations to see for continuous financial support as well. For FCSS, the Seniors Tea is happening this Thursday, June 8th. Of course, everybody's invited over there, and council can make their attendance as well. In the Omniplex, when we see, of course, that opening up, we had our big first event already happening last weekend. That was the Straight Blast Gym grappling tournament, but there are so many other events coming up in the month of June that it's almost too much to put out there. But I would just want to highlight a couple of items. June 6 and 7 is a pro rodeo that's you see here highlighted as well already in the report. But this coming Saturday, we have the June 3rd. That's a triathlon, for example, that happens now in that area too, because of our new pool, of course, location, and in the 45th Avenue residential area. The grad parade is happening from Holy Trinity on June 2nd. That's Friday. So that's another event, of course, happening in town. People can come out to see that. And then the rest of June has events such as the obstacle course race that's coming up. We have the busy weekend of the 23rd, 24th, 25th, with a couple of items over there as well. In our pool, we started, of course, our lesson series again. The schools are coming in. It's busy over there with people that want to be part of that. We have, of course, our financial items, reimbursement to things that had to be postponed. The last item that the public will see is the landscaping will start next week. That's, of course, with a new building, something that could happen right now in the spring. The other bigger items have been addressed that we were waiting for. The HVAC system is up and running, and even people will notice that the noise of the system inside is now to levels that we can work with and hear each other correctly in that environment. So happy to say that the most items are now done, and we are really happy with the facility at the moment. In community services, there are still those after fire kits available. Down here, we handed out already more than 14 skits of those buckets that people can come and pick up, but we still have them available. And if they are running out down here at the front desk, then at the county office, they are distributed there as well. When you see the other items, financial support that we are looking into, and it's still going on. So with organizations, nonprofits, for example, we support them as good as we can in accessing items that are coming available or are ongoing in those requests. And you see here from the Red Cross, for example, some information. The facilities that we take care of ourselves after the fire, you can see, of course, filters that have to be replaced. Our maintenance department has worked hard on that to make sure that our buildings are up and running and keep being up and running. One thing that's up and running as well is the spray park. That was one item that didn't open yet. We are now open. Yesterday, we had the final curing of the surface, so that should be done right now, and the system is back up. There's one item that I want to highlight as well that's not in here. Tomorrow, June 1st, we are taking, as a department, but it's public as well, if people want to come out and shake hands with Annette Driesen, who has been our GM for community services, but also a CAO for a while. We're going to take official, let's say a highlight to her retirement and thank her for her services. We're going to do that at 3:30 to 5 p.m. at the pool. She was instrumental, of course, getting that done as a project lead over there. So anybody wants to shake her hands and grab a piece of cake, come out at 3:30 at the pool. And we call that the multifunction room. So those were the highlights in my report. Any questions? please
Thank you
ask.
very much for that. Any questions for Hans? Counselor Evans?
Hans, you mentioned the landscaping was going to be getting done finished around the pool and stuff?
Yes, that's correct. You see some stakes already from the first calls, and the landscaping group will come out starting this basically next week. They were already there, of course, to take a look, but they will start next week.
I would just ask that you pay particular attention to, remember we looked at that spot when we were set up for Earth Day. Remember, we just wandered around where that, I wasn't sure where the drainage was supposed to go, right beside the road there. Do you remember us kind of stomping around in there? Just ask that you have a look at that as they're developing that and make sure the water is being pushed where it's supposed to go so we don't end up with a bunch of water sitting in there. That's all.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
that. And where are we at with landscaping around the pump track? Is that kind of all filled in with grass or?
So around the pump track, basically it's a grass area for sure. Of course, there's the gravel pad that you can park over there, but
Yeah.
we can take a look if there's anything that we can discuss with the Parks Department, if there's any upgrade possible or not, but at the moment it's grass.
Okay. Counselor Ballas?
Thank you. The turf that was purchased from another institution, has that been installed?
Thank you for that question. So the turf that we got basically in the month of May has not been installed. So the moment that we had the military, of course, utilizing that facility, we put it to the side or kept putting it to the side. It is something that we are considering how to do that right now. We have some other events that are happening in that location too. The turf is let's say, a harder project than first of all anticipated. So we are reconsidering how we can do this in that location. It's a lot, it's heavy. The location itself is a curling rink, so it's not 100% straight away accessible for ball activities and sports. So it's something that we might come back to council with some more additional information or questions.
Yeah, I would suggest putting it on buy and sell.
Thank you.
Putting what on buy and sell? Uh-oh. Any other questions? Counselor McGee?
Hans, I think I would start with a quick question around your staff levels. You're okay, you're covered. Are we short a bunch? We're heading into this pro rodeo. I think it's going to be really exciting. We've got people to do that, and you feeling okay about that?
And thank you for that question. So we changed our, let's say, more of the title, not so much of the function, but we hired some extra staff members to support our activities. So basically, we call them event supervisors. So we are good at that level. We are still, of course, looking at our management level on how to replace Derek that we had a while ago. Right now, we are setting something up to make that happen in the near future. But staffing wise, we are good at the moment. It is busy for sure, especially with the two locations, of course, in full swing, the CTC and our Omniplex / Mackenzie Center as well. So
Yes.
Yeah.
It's wide open. I can see that. I just hope because we're front and center sometimes there, and if it falters a little, we get really, it's hard, right? But just want to make sure that we have the right people to do the right things at the right time.
Are we talking specifically during events, you're saying, for maintaining while the events are happening?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so busy right
Yeah.
now. Everything is block booked, and I know that. And sometimes when you see them, the staff seem like we all would be, is overwhelmed a little bit, right? Like it's a lot of work. So we just want to make sure we have enough people to do that. The other question is about, I see the Red Cross kits. They're out in the front of the town office or and so I was asking this morning, why do we have those? And we have them because people are going to clean up, but I don't know what you're cleaning up. Unless you lost your house, you got a whole different cleanup going on, right? But I'm not sure what's in the bag, and I'm not sure if I feel like just taking a bag to take another bag home, right? And this is a discussion I was having, and then I thought, why would we not pallet it? And if there's an emergency, we've got them, or send them back. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to hand out free bags of things that we all have under our sink right now. I assume. I never looked in the bag.
Well, thank you for that question. Of course, in those type of disasters that happen, there's a lot of, let's say, in the background happening, so support that's offered, Red Cross, for example. So you're right, when you open up this, it's like, hey, okay, I'm glad there's toilet paper in there and cleaning tissues and stuff for the start. But it's a thing that we can remember for next time. It's accessible as well. So most people will see this as, I'm lucky that I don't have to clean up a lot, but I have those materials. But it's available for next disasters as well.
So you would prefer that if people came and picked up one of those bags and had it at their home in case they need it, or do you prefer to pallet it and put it in a storage locker for in case we do? I don't know. Sorry.
For that question off the cuff, I would prefer that people pick it up and make sure that they have those materials at
Being
home
prepared.
instead of us storing them.
Yeah, and so it's on our website. Come and pick up a bag, right? So anybody in the audience today, they're just around the corner.
And I believe a lot of people have been picking them up. They've been quite popular, so which
Yeah.
is good. Yeah. We declined the amount that Red Cross wanted to provide because they're so bulky and we didn't even know where to store them. So we started off with, I think, half the amount that they were wanting to send us, just to see how they would end up going out into the community. But yeah, people have really been appreciating them. But yeah, it's a good question. It is really just cleaning supplies, brushes, stuff like that. I mean, very good if your house smells like smoke, which not a lot in the town, but I'd imagine more closer to the burn area, it would have been.
Well, and I understand the county got similar amounts. as
Yeah.
They have.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, thunder, clocks. Did you say anything about that?
So thank you for that question. So what I can say at the moment, we have some requotes with Thunder. So we work together with the Thunder because they are partner, of course, in this. We have basically now narrowed it down to 3 options. So we'll have ongoing discussion this week and next week to make a decision because we know, of course, the timing is, let's say, short in getting items. So we have basically 3 bigger options that we want to nail down. This contract with the Thunder means that they are an intricate part of it, of course, and we're happy to see where this is going.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You are so welcome. And thank you very much, Hans, for your report. I think before we move along, I'm going to call a 10-minute break. I was going to try to push through, but we will reconvene our meeting back at 10:34 a.m. and back into our department reports. 10.3 is our growth services report, and Mr. Bannon will be giving it to us this morning.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just so it's a couple items to update on. First is the rural renewal program. And just to say that we're continuing to receive applications for endorsement letters. At this point, we've had 55 that have come in, 11 that were endorsed. We'll continue with that. The second one is the Business and International Student Immigration Panel Symposium that is going to be held Thursday, June 29th at the CETC. And it'll be open to businesses and industry and non-government agencies and residents alike within the county and the town. We're going to have 8 immigration consultants there to do a panel. The purpose of the symposium is to make people aware of the program, the benefits, the regulations, and the process. Discuss, the current and future challenges and opportunities that are out there. And they'll have breakout sessions. They'll have 4 breakout sessions dealing in the areas of hospitality, medical and industry, and international student recruitment. Those are update from Economic Development. On the planning side, I just want to update council just on the side. We continue to go through the recruitment process for the 2 vacant positions in the department, the GM and development planner. And we hope to have some conclusion to that soon. I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions this morning? Colin?
So the whole, the Business and International Student Immigration Panel Symposium, who's that being driven by? Is that us or is it the 8, consultants or who's driving that?
My understanding is that it's being driven by both, one of our initiatives that we're doing it with, and with the help of the province and the federal government as well, and trying to attract students into our area, but making sure that there's a good tie between the business community and the type of businesses that we need with the kind of students that we want to be able to attract to our facility.
That was it. Tom?
It sounds really interesting. So the key to this, in my mind, for June 29th is the communication. So communication through social media, and I know that we have the culture cafes, and we've got those things going on that we, so to really make sure that this is either well attended or at least attended by the people that need to be there, that we really communicate this well. And it's my only point.
Advertise. And Pam, can you send us a calendar invite for that, please, for the 29th for this? Is it an all day or?
My understanding, it'd be for like a full day.
A full day. It would be for a full day. And then just in regards to the GM and did you say, so is the GM going to be a planner and then we're hiring a DO?
Oh, we're out there hiring for a development planner, which is both a planner and a development officer. And the general manager position is somebody that we're looking for that has experience in both planning and economic development. So well-versed in that area, in those areas.
Okay. And we currently have a development officer now, right?
No.
Nina?
Well, we have a development assistant. So that's
assistant.
one of the challenges we face currently,
Okay.
is that we're right down to the essential core services is what we're trying to maintain.
Okay. So fingers crossed. Colin, another question?
Peter, how hard would it be to get a map of sort of town-owned lands to myself? And the reason I'm asking is, I guess as a realtor, I'm working with another realtor on some lands within the vicinity of Drayton Valley and within regarding a solar array, and they're looking for a significant amount of land. So there's an opportunity here for the municipality. So I was curious to see if I could get something.
We can provide that to all of council.
That would be fantastic.
Town
please.
plans,
Yep.
yeah. And actually, we're working on that one initiative of council to look at all of the town-owned lands.
And then can I ask, can I also get the overlay of all pipelines, buried facilities? With those?
I know it is out there. We'll have to dig for that a little bit.
Yeah, please. and
We're
thank
having
you.
challenges just so council's aware, we are having some challenges with our GIS and just being able to generate maps and to get the data.
So why is that?
I believe we're having problems with the way data is stored. Correct, Nathan? Yeah,
I guess the reason why is I just say when we have, do we not use ArcGIS? And then you click on like a land location and then you add those overlays, whether it's contours, right-of-ways, pipelines. Isn't it just a matter of clicking down on?
So it should be that simple. and it normally would be that simple.
Yeah.
However, I just know through a couple of development applications that we've been going through, just trying to be able to do that, we've been unable to do that. And so, for example, sending out the notices, something simple as sending out notices for a development application. We've had to kind of resort to, was there a previous application? Do we have the ownership? That type of thing. It's been really difficult to get basic functions out of some of this.
So
Yeah.
is it the lack of our software, or is it something's not working?
Nathan, can you come up and speak to it real quick?
Yeah, I'm confused because I'm
Yeah,
just
we
thinking that
were-
it should all work and be there and.
It is there. It's just accessing it right now, but
Yeah.
Nathan can.
Madam Mayor, Council, we do have the data stored. We're in the process of getting adequate systems that can run it post-fire. So some of our systems, as mentioned, were affected by the fire, and we're still in the process of restoring or replacing that equipment. So in the process, we've decided that a better solution going forward to prevent this sort of issue happening again would be to move to a cloud-hosted platform for GIS and for several other servers as well.
Oh, okay.
We're in the process of moving that system from our own internal hardware to a cloud-based system hosted by Esri.
So it is the software still, right? And
Yeah,
just
it's either not operational or not fully operational
Okay,
currently. So
okay, so it will be, okay. I
it's
get
going
it.
to be resolved hopefully within a few days to a week or two.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Nathan.
Yep.
And then maybe just to follow up on, for Peter from Colin's question in regards to, I know as part of our preliminary points that we're trying to put together for economic development, when we're trying to gather those pieces of, town-owned property, will that include what the property taxes are, what the utilities are, what the size, like all the details will be included in that as well? So when we're kind of trying to sell, to investors, that'll all be readily available?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone through these kind of analysis before, and really what you're trying to identify, at least from my perspective, is what you're trying to identify is, here's the property, what's its function? At the end of the day, you sort of have to understand, is it a function of of a service that we're providing? Is it an environmental reserve? Is it a municipal reserve? Is it, could it be surplus, or, how did we acquire it and it's just sitting there and has potential to be developed? Those are all the types of things that you need to know, just as base information. Then you also need to understand is, so are there any constraints on the property, like pipelines or easements or other factors that would restrict development? And then you need to understand, so if you're going to put a value to it, what kind of a value would you put to it? So that, that's the type of analysis that you need to do for every single piece of property.
And where do you feel we are with that? Like, have we done a lot of that work? Do we have it, or are we still a ways away?
We've started that work.
Okay.
I still need to get an update on where we're at with it. It's been a couple of weeks since I've had an update on that, but.
Okay, fair enough. Any other questions for Peter this morning? No. Okay, well, thank you very much for your report. And that wraps up department reports. We'll move to council reports. Councillor Clark?
Yep, so I guess not a ton on the go outside of, after the fire and during the fire, but one thing, RDN conference presentation planning, had a meeting with Nancy and Lola last week just to talk about essentially RDN and the shelter pods and a conference that we're gonna, I guess, pre-record some stuff for. So just chatting about that. And really just setting up some meetings with some local oil and gas companies for the Cardium 70th here. So got a couple of those lined up for next week, and hopefully we can get some.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Evans?
Yeah, not a lot to report since we returned after the fire. Had the opportunity to go down and see the firefighters with you, Nancy, and that was nice to just say hello and say thank you. Other than that, yeah, library board was canceled for the month, so that'll be coming up this month, along with the sustainability committee. So yeah, other than that, nothing too much to report.
Thank you for that. Councillor McGee?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Two things that I would bring forward. You all would have received a letter, email from Verna Wicks, who works at the library, talking about a thank you card somehow, signed to say thank you to firefighters and a list of folks that we would want to say thank you to. And I thought we should let them run with it. The other thing they were thinking about is that how do we share our stories? If there are stories and how do we, there's a book here that I gave you. It's called The Sky Was on Fire, and it's Slave Lake. Now it was much more serious for them, but it's quite a book with photos and things like that. And it's right here. I don't know if you've gone through it, Tom, but it's just Cody Rossing was there, and there's lots of interesting things, and a well-written note by the mayor and bringing people back into communities. So anyway, I think if we let the library run with it, then it takes it off of the administration's plate, because I think our administration has been working really hard. We have a Brazeau Foundation meeting tomorrow. The reports that I have coming in about how we handle our seniors in that particular facility are second to none. We manage that. I was in long-term care the other day, and we were still 26 folks that were still yet to come back because they were staging them coming back into long-term care. But it was interesting that some were in Drumheller, and I talked to Seasons, and they had a facility that they went to that they were able to get to, and it's mind-boggling when you think about what you have to do, how it happens, and it's so easy to forget about it, but we shouldn't. It was amazing operation. And when you think of long-term care, seniors, and those kinds of people that panic, so it was just amazing. So I wanted to be sure to mention that, and that's it.
Thank you very much for that. And I think that Tom has started his book writing already, and we're we're looking forward to that being published. Just kidding. Yeah. Councillor Sheriffs, did you have anything to report?
I don't have anything to report. Our meeting with Eagle Points and Blue Rapids got rescheduled because of the evacuation, and we'll be getting more of an update. I know the fire didn't get to the park itself on the south end across the river, but I know there was some blockades built, and there will be some restoration required. We're going to talk about that probably. Other than that, it was one hell of a ride for all of us, I think. None of us were ever, no matter how many things, courses and lectures you attend, you're not prepared to what we've been through. And I think everybody did the best we could. That's all.
Thanks, Monica. Councillor Ballas.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Andrew Bachenko on being our next MLA. Secondly, I'd like to recognize the city of Edmonton for their hospitality in setting up the Expo Center. It was unbelievable in how they were organized and opened their arms for our people and the services they provided. And I hope somehow that we can give them some recognition. Other than that, of course, the evacuation kept everyone quite busy. I'm sure everybody was on the lines, talking to people and listening to their concerns and addressing their concerns. Overall, I thought the evacuation went quite well. Very well, as a matter of fact, and kudos to our fire department and our volunteers and our international firefighters and our armed services. In my opinion, they saved our town. So I really heartfully thank them for that. We had a PPRC meeting on the 23rd. We're having an annual general meeting on June 23rd, and we're really struggling getting volunteers. So I would like to throw out an open invitation to anybody in the public that's interested in volunteering to be on the Pembina Physician Recruitment Committee. And other than that, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much for that, Bill. Yes, it's been a busy last few weeks and back at the office now, everybody trying to settle in. Some of our firefighters are still out busy and some of our resources are still out busy fighting these fires and fighting and to save our community, still working hard, and we appreciate that. Trying to get back to business as usual, getting caught up. We talked about things like lawn mowing and things like that we'll start to see happening over the next couple weeks. It's been very interesting to start to hear the stories around the office just from different staff and just different people in the community about how their experiences were, and lots of little good news stories. And there's been a lot of laughter this week, and I really enjoyed it. As just, that as stressful and as trying as the times were, that through all that, like, just even from our admin team, hearing their little stories or little funny things that happened, I think that, it helped them get through and cope, and it's nice to hear. And I think that it's very important that we all continue to talk about it, not to relive it, but to talk about it and to share. And I think the more that we can talk is the more people will be better to deal with it. And, we talked about things like PTSD and mental health and things like that. So I think it's very important that we're sharing stories, we're laughing, we're talking, we're checking in with people, and just doing that, I think, with, not only our staff, but, when you see people out at school or in the streets, just, being a little bit more kinder and just checking in with everybody, I think is really, really important. So I think as the weeks kind of progress forward, we'll start to get a little bit more back into the swing of things. I know that June is a very busy month. A lot of events and things that were happening got postponed. So we'll start to see those start to happen. And then hopefully we'll all get a bit of a summer break, and some of us maybe a holiday we'll get to go away on and, and disconnect for a little bit. Will be something to look forward to. And yeah, just looking forward to kind of getting caught up and attending some of these events and just seeing people, enjoying our community and laughing and just being, getting back to normal. It's just going to be fantastic. Congratulations to Andrew on your win for our community. I'm excited to be working with you and advocating. I know that we have some work to do and some things to talk about to task Andrew with, that we want to be, driving up to the province for sure. Congratulations to Danielle and the team, and just to everyone who really worked on the campaign. I know that we all know that it's hard work, the time that goes into it. You're away from your family, the dollars and everything. It's a lot out there, door knocking and everything. So, congratulations to everybody that ran, and just looking forward to working with the province and moving some of our ideas and initiatives definitely forward. We have a lot of work ahead of us. So excited now to get some of those things going. And that is it for me for my reports. And I will now ask a member of council to make a motion to accept both the department reports and council reports as information. Councillor McGee, thank you very much. All in favor? That is carried. And so council items, council initiated items or roundtable discussion. Does anybody have anything here that they would like to talk about? Lots to talk about. I have a couple things to talk about in close, but I'm just going to kind of go through my list here and see what we can be talking about. One of the things was I received a call yesterday, and I wrote it down in my notebook at home from Alberta Health Services, and it was in regards to mental health support at the hospital here. And I know one of the things both the Pembina Physician Recruitment and the RCMP and everybody's been working on was the, not only was the PAC team, but was the mental health support at the hospital. And I was very surprised to find that we have a whole team here at the hospital, and we've had them here since last fall, and that the services aren't being accessed. Like, people aren't, there isn't a big demand. So I found that shocking, because I know we talk about it around this table all the time, is that how there's such a need for those mental health supports. I know when talking with the RCMP, when, there's been cases where they pick up an individual and they go to the hospital and help with the Form 10, that they have been there since last September. And I said, maybe we're not advertising, maybe it's not getting out in the community. So I think we need to do a little bit of more follow-up with that, get a little bit of information. I did write her name and her number. I asked her to send me some information that we could be communicating and sending. One of the things she did agree was when it came to like our kids and youth, that we do not have mental health supports in place there, that we are extremely lacking. And that, again, it goes back to the trying to recruit somebody to Drayton Valley is very difficult. We don't seem to be able to be very attractive. So if we can think of ways that we would stand out and maybe help with that recruitment would be fantastic as well. Excuse me. So yeah, just very interesting as we talk about mental health, that we do have a team at our hospital. So as we're kind of progressing through this, you know, mental health and support and things like that, maybe just make reference that we do have a response team at the hospital. And if you're needing any sort of assistance, you can walk in and you can access that. And once I get that communication, I'll definitely share it with everybody. So that was one of the things. We have a museum visit that's been requested to council coming up, and it was supposed to be scheduled while we were gone away for the fire. So we'll have to pick a date or a couple dates and throw it out to the museum and decide what that date's going to be. We have to have a few more discussions around our Cardium 70 that's coming up very, very quick. So for those of you that are online, you'll be starting to see communication pieces going out. The celebration is coming up very, very quick, and tickets are $150 per ticket. And that gets you a private dinner and a private show to Gord Bamford. And lots of fun, and a way to be celebrating 70 years of oil and gas in our community. A table goes for $1,200, and that's a table of 8. So if anybody's interested in tickets, please reach out to us, spread the word. We're very excited, and we're going to start really promoting this and encouraging everybody just to come and celebrate. Also, that weekend will be a pancake breakfast, our official grand opening and ribbon cutting of our swimming pool. So lots happening. We hear that the carnival will be happening that weekend and pancake breakfast. So it will be a weekend to celebrate. We talked about getting back and celebrating, so we will have one heck of a celebration that weekend. So we're hoping everybody can attend. Sponsorship packages also are still in place for the zero-fee tuition, which helps students access post-secondary initiatives in Drayton Valley. And also we're looking for auction items for both of our silent and our live auctions. So if anybody has any ideas or they know of anybody, please let us know of that as well. And of course, we have the rodeo happening, and I think that's about all I have. Colin is going to be attending the Globe Conference here coming up, and Global Energy Conference coming up in the next couple weeks. And I'm not sure if there was any other counselors that were interested in attending that or were wanting to go along with that. We can have a talk about it later, but that was on my list. And also, just a question, are we going to be sending out thank you letters and things like that to the city of Edmonton, to like the Oregon Department of Forestry, to everybody that's helped us through this process? How are we or what is our plan in doing that?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
I was just wondering if we're going to be sending out, like I know we've kind of been doing shout outs and things like that, but are we going to be sending letters like to the response team, City of Edmonton, to
Yeah.
like, everybody that's,
Yeah, so we talked about it in SLT earlier this week, and we're starting to compose a list. So we'll start with like actual letters to start sending those out. And at some point, we're thinking about doing something like more public. But our concern with that is missing someone. Because in an emergency situation, there's just so many people and organizations helping that we want to make sure we're catching them all and taking our time to go from the fire department, the county here, and talk about everyone.
try to get
Have an
everybody.
exhaustive list, but in the next, I believe, Hans, we were trying to get some letters made up for this week or next. So we're starting, a lot of the organizations that we know of will start receiving letters shortly. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much. That's all I have. I don't know if anybody has any other questions or wants to add something on. Tom?
I would want to say something about Go Baby Go, which is there's in Calgary, they have the same thing happening, and other cities. But Drayton Valley, would put 17 cars together last year. There are 29 cars being set up for Go Baby Go, which will be down on, the June 9th at the Omniplex. And so, it's remarkable. And we draw from across Alberta. We may have a few residents that would take advantage of these cars that allow mobility for people that don't have mobility. It's quite remarkable. The actual setting up of the cars put together by companies, when they do that work, and then by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there are tears everywhere, right? It's just a remarkable thing. And it's going on. We need to everybody, if you get a chance to go by the arena and just and have a look. I think that's a really important piece. Let me just think about the rest of it. I think would go to closed, except for bike racks. But if you want to talk about bike racks, and Luke wants, because I've locked my bike up every day. So if they want to know where we might put bike racks, or there are millions of different bike racks out there. We made our own at one point. I think there's 3 or 4 that are in the storage area. And so, but they were probably very expensive because they were nice and round, but they don't have to have expensive bike racks.
Do we still have some left over?
I think there's still some in the storage area, but that's, just so if you want to tag me to have a conversation with Nick or whoever.
We'll do that. Maybe we should bring a RFD, or we can do on the site, or. Okay.
Let's see if we have bike racks in storage still. Let's go start with that, and then we can have a conversation with Counselor McGee in terms of locations and stuff.
Sure.
But
And what I think I find is that I was at, in that whole thing of the 3 Nights Mall there, there's no place, there's one signpost. But I don't know if the 3 Nights want to put one up. Boston Pizza, there's no place to park your bike other than tie it to a bush. Maybe they want to do that, right? It's just that kind of a thing too. I think that's what we originally had planned, is that each company would, of course I want a bike rack there. Of course I'd have Mr. Mike's, you got to tie it to a bush. So there's just things like that. And so I can have that conversation, and I know that they would say, yes, I'm in, let's figure out how to do that. And we, at their cost, maybe as well. I don't know. Anyway, you just ask. That's it. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. So if there's nothing else anybody has, then I'll be looking for a motion to move us into closed, which is 9.6 under FOIP section 24(1)A. Councillor Clark, thank you very much. All in favor? That is carried, and we are moved into closed at 11:04 a.m.